got a couple more Spydercos to unbox for you guys. And these ones are cool because, or at least I think they're cool, because one of them has a little bit of a personal story with me that I would like to share. And the other one's just kind of a cool piece of history. Both of these are sprint runs. They're both new production, but they are based on, oh geez, I always mess these boxes up. These ones are kind of like the Hellraiser cube for me. I can't quite figure it out. Luckily, when I do figure it out, I don't get the flesh ripped off of my bones. Okay, what do we have here? This is a big, wow, okay, microfiber. Wow, okay, talk about collector first. Each of these boxes are wrapped in a microfiber cloth to protect the cardboard. These are coming from National Knives. I don't know if you've ever dealt with them. I used to buy from them quite a bit back in the day, and then I recently bought these, but I hadn't bought anything from them in a while. And so I would highly recommend them. They seem absolutely outstanding, and they really care about sending you pristine boxes. Let's see, which one do we want to do first? Let's do this one first. This is the least interesting for me, I guess, but still kind of cool. This is a re-release of the Catcherman Sprint Run right here. I don't know a ton about it, but it is kind of interesting. So this is the Salt. It is in a steel that I am not familiar with. This is a fishing knife, a fillet knife with a back lock. Pretty solid there. Made in Japan, Seki City, Japan. The steel on this one is LC200N. I assume that it might be a nitrogen-based steel, at very least a very highly corrosive resistant steel. This is part of the Salt line, which if you don't know, that means basically anti-corrosion, right? It's meant for seafarers and fishing and boating and things like that. It's got the injected molded handle here. It's got a lock back and a very thin fillet style, super slicey knife that's very large. I can't even fit it all on my camera here. There we go. You can see how much bigger it is than the Paramilitary 2. But what I found interesting, so why I got this, it was on sale. It was like, I don't know, $100 or something. I got it because it's big. It's cool. It's got the serrations right there. It's a wicked looking blade. I love the toxic green, but the other thing that's cool about this knife is the pocket clip. Do you see how it is all one piece with the handle here? Or at least I believe it is. It should be, unless they did this differently. Yeah. No, it's got to be. There's no way they could screw the FRN there. You can see the patent right there, because this is a reproduction of the very first pocket clip ever. In case you didn't know, Spyderco invented pocket clips. Sounds crazy, but pocket clips at one point in time did not exist, and Spyderco was the first to do it, and they actually patented it right here, and they did it as a single piece with the entire handle, just like this, or at least the back scale, just like this. Now, they pretty quickly went away from it because these would break off, people would break them, and there would be no way to replace that clip, right? Because it's all part of this handle here. So then eventually they went to, what we know as the pocket clip that you put on after the fact. But originally it was all kind of mated into the handle. This thing is so light. And so this is a very, very cool kind of throwback to some Spyderco history. I'm thinking this is like 2.1 ounces, 2.6 ounces, a little bit off. Very lightweight, kind of cool, kind of a showpiece. I don't know if I should have got it, but kind of neat. Now this next one is in a similar vein. Yeah, buddy, this is the Pheonix. They re-released the Pheonix. This is an old design that I have some history with. I mean, not cool history. I'll tell you here in a minute. Let's get the number here. Made in Japan, Pheonix. This is designed by Viele is his name, I believe, right? Viele, V-I-E-L-E. So one of the first Spydercos that I ever bought, and the first crazy knife that I ever bought, was the Pheonix. And I got it when it first was discontinued. So right after the first version of this was discontinued is when I purchased this knife. I've got some videos on it. They're really old. They look like they were shot by a potato. I was very unconfident with making videos, but they're out there. And then they fairly recently, re-released this knife made in Japan, VG10, just like the original. Titanium frame, just like the original. However, this one seems to have more of a satin grain finish, whereas the original, I believe, was polished. This also has a ball lock. Now, this one is visible. It doesn't have like the handles around it. It's also much larger than what's on like the Manix 2. So you actually pinch and pull the ball directly, which is kind of cool. Now, another interesting thing, though, is the original had white micarta handles, and they went with red for some reason this time. Not that I care. I actually like the way this looks a little bit more, but if you're going to do a throwback to a crazy old Spyderco knife design, why not actually reproduce it as it originally came out? I don't know why you would switch up the scales like that, but cool nonetheless. Now, here's the thing. This is not a good-looking knife, at least in my opinion. I didn't think it was particularly attractive when it came out back in the day. I just found it very, very interesting, especially for a Spyderco knife. And this was back when things like titanium was very, very rare on Spydercos. In fact, it was quite rare in knives in general. Like, it was still like space age type material at that time. Now it's super common. You know, it's weird to get a knife without titanium. But when the original version of this came out, titanium was very, very cool. And so that I found that very interesting. This ball lock was insane. This may have been the first use of the ball lock. If anybody knows, let me know. If it wasn't the first use of the ball lock, it was certainly one of the first uses of the ball lock. Maybe the polywog came a little bit before this one. I don't know. But very, very cool. Now, this knife, man, it's just one of those nostalgic things. It was on sale at National Knives for like $2.25. Had to grab it. I went back and watched my original overview of the original version of this knife. And what I found interesting is that this knife, when it first came out, was controversial for being so expensive. It was the most expensive Spyderco knife they had ever released. The MSRP was $330, which at the time was absolutely insane. But what I find interesting is that flash forward to 15 years later, the MSRP on this now is lower than it was then. I think the MSRP on this was $300. And then, of course, it went to dealers for less, and I bought it on sale for $225. Very weird to have the price go down like that. The only thing I can think of, because it's same materials, made in Japan, same blade steel. The only thing I can think of is that maybe the value of USD is more in our favor now than it was in 2000 early, whatever. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why this would be less expensive, because Spydercos in general have just gone up in price. Like standard Spydercos, USA made Spydercos are way more expensive now than they ever used to be. But this one is actually MSRPing for less than it did 15 years ago, which is kind of interesting, because I don't think I would have picked this up if it was more expensive than the original. But kind of cool to have in my collection. Interesting showpiece. It's an attention grabber. What can you say? Let me know down below what you think of this knife. Do you think it's ugly? Do you think it looks handsome and pretty? I want to know what your opinion is of this knife. Whatever it is, I'm sure you can say that it's interesting. All right, guys, I'm out. Take care. Appreciate all of you. Have a good one.